Hello all, you're so gonna want to stay until the end for this one because this is my life's philosophy and it's the best way I've ever placed it. Do less, have more. Here is how. So we've all heard of Pareto's principle, 80-20. Now I'm telling you that it isn't about doing more. It isn't about working more. It isn't about networking too much more. It isn't about stressing yourself out too much more. It isn't about feeling like the weight of the world is on your shoulders just because you've started something that you feel is hard, even though you know it's worth it. Well done, by the way, if you're on that track. It is about doing less. As soon as we recognize that we want something and we know that it's hard, we can sometimes get an autopilot and we can go for a thing thinking that we have to reinvent the wheel or that we're alone. And we never are, we never have been. We came into this world and there are a mind-blowing amount of unknowns because we aren't what we came from. And at the same time, we are. So that connection to what we came from, that connection to source, to God, to the universe, is precisely what gives us our power and precisely why we get to do less when we want to have more. Here's the secret. It's all your perspective. When you choose to focus 80% of your energy, then 20% will be effort instead of the other way around. When you choose to realign towards your clarity and to realign towards your focus, you will get to spend more of your energy and time focusing, and everything else you will notice fall into place. And then your energy, you only have to spend a little bit of it on your effort, where you get to manage things. And you don't have to do every single managerial job and task. You just get to say, this is how I want it. I'm going to place it this way instead. I'm going to re-puzzle it. I'm going to restructure it. I'm going to mind map it that way instead. You get to be creative. You get to do the things that you enjoy. And then everything else gets put onto people who will help you and who you'll pay for it. And you will be able to use your life as a freedom ticket instead of one that becomes a burden. Okay, so I want to share with you the 7 ways I am thriving instead of surviving. This, I believe, is the age of surviving in this world that is so chaotic, that is constantly asking for our effort, energy, attention, distraction, all of the things. Where are you putting your focus? That is the beginning of all of it. Once you have your focus sorted out, it's about the questions that you're asking. So as soon as you spend 80% of your effort and your energy on reframing the questions you're asking, you get to spend the rest of your life enjoying and not feeling a weight on your shoulders. Because more than anything, you are really strengthening that bond with the connection to God and to Source, who does most of the heavy lifting. This is actually, after I've spoken to hundreds of women and people as a life coach, the thing that we all struggle with the most is trusting that we're not alone and not feeling like it's a heavy burden to just wake up in the morning and like you're laden when, we're 65 kilos on average. That's our weight, and yet we feel that we're carrying a ton of bricks. And it's not necessary. You're not actually doing it. That is a story you're telling yourself. And this is how we're going to liberate you from that. So I went through this myself, having been through relationship ups and downs, having been through the shame and guilt of the climate crisis issues, having been through university and the first world's sort of societal points games and who's doing better virtues wise than the other. I've really learned to come into myself and focus on what it is that I want, and that has simultaneously lifted the lives of everyone around me, because as soon as you work on you, that gravitates towards everyone around you. If you're doing badly, if the way that you handle yourself in your life is by trauma bonding, then of course that's going to affect everyone in your direct circles and around. It's like a ripple effect. When a water droplet falls into a pond, you know? It's like you, your family, your friends, and everything around. So as soon as you get better, everyone around you gets to be better, right? So this comes from experience, okay? That's what I really want to emphasize. I was in a lack mindset most of my life. Now I'm 25. I've been a life coach almost 2 years because I was just tired of it. I was tired of the shame and guilt, and I recognized that it was a decision. And I have people in my life who have told me, well, most people don't get to choose. And the thing is, you do. You always do. Everything that is happening to you and for you has been a choice. So I want you to notice that you say, when this happens, then this will happen. That is the way that we live. When I get the job, when I get the partner, when I get this, then I will be happy, then I will be rich, then I will be wealthy. But wealth is an abundance mindset. Wealth is ultimately a feeling. You don't actually want the thing, you want the feeling. So you want success, you think it comes with hundreds of pounds, hundreds of dollars, thousands, millions, however much you think success is. But ultimately what you want is to fall asleep with a clear conscience and like a smile on your face and someone beside you, maybe. You want happiness, you want freedom, and you want joy. So as soon as you recognize what you want, you can reframe your focus towards creating more of that abundance for you, which may look different for you than for someone else. And that is the beauty of the freedom, is that you are an individual and you are different and your desires will be different to another's. So live in that truth. You don't have to look for permission outside of yourself. Just dive into your desire. That's where we'll start. That's where I started. So it all changed. I'm looking at my notes. It all changed for me when I started prioritizing mental wealth over mental health. And when I shared this first, one of my friends from school commented on my post and they were like, what does this mean? And like, I'd barely ever spoken to him in my life. You know, he's just one of those people that prioritizes mental health over mental wealth. And I said, mental wealth means we're thriving instead of just coping. Because mental health, I lived in the UK for 8 years. Mental health seems to be, oh, I really want to make sure that I'm not, like, you're coming with all these issues and you're perpetuating the story of lack mindset. And mental wealth is thriving because you get to focus on possibility, potentiality, and befriend the quantum realm and say, what if this happens? And really develop your imagination from a substantial core place of, I want to be mentally wealthy, soul wealthy, and family and life wealthy. So you're giving a platform to the riches that are already there. You're choosing to see them. Okay, so I decided to focus on mental wealth over mental health, which was just coping. So I decided that I expect extraordinary. When you expect something, if you then take the action towards it, you will receive it. And that's what we're going to get into. So I expect extraordinary in my mentality, in my emotions, in my physical body, in my relationships, in my spirituality, in my financial aspect. Every single part of my life, I expect it to be extraordinary and nothing less, okay? So the way that I get it, the way that I guarantee that I will reach my expectations is by aligning, which I talk about literally every single time I'm on here. It is the doing. It starts with the thinking, then the feeling, and then the acting, and then the results. But the key part is the doing. Because one thing is thinking and feeling those desires that you want to have. And then it really is about connecting with the doing and the acting in order to get the results. And it goes round and round. And the thing is, this is also absolute key. I live by the golden rule. The golden rule. If I asked you what that is, could you tell me? I've actually had a few conversations in real life where I'm just like, do you know what the golden rule is? And they're like, no. And I'm like, what? I grew up with this. I grew up with this knowledge. I think it is true to so many of us. And sometimes we don't even know it, that is what leads our moral standing. The golden rule is Just double checking. Treat others how you would like to be treated. Treat others how you would like to be treated. And because we live in a mirroring universe, I treat myself how I'd like others to treat me too. And that's where we tend to go pretty wrong. At least in the mindset I was in for a long time, like almost a decade. I was putting other people before myself. I was saying, I should treat others how I'd like to be treated all the time, give, give, give. But I wasn't receiving. I wasn't putting it into perpetual motion. I wasn't allowing the wheel to turn all the way, which is treat myself how I'd like others to treat me too. We live in a mirroring universe, okay? So universe means one person, okay? So when I treat myself the way that I want others to treat me, they will treat me that way. And I will get to treat others the way that I want to be treated. Because it's this whole abundance turntable, and it just generates more and more and more and more and more. And as soon as we're in that mentality, we get to do less and have more. That's what I'm bringing this back to. Okay, so it all starts, as I said, with knowing your desires. As soon as you know your desires and you move towards that with your action, you are seeing the world from the perspective of, I deserve this, and others deserve the same. And that is what is being granted momentum at that time, which is so exciting. The next thing I want to share is that I self-invest. Hello. I self-invest. So I only spend my focus and my energy on 6 things, which I wrote down and I will share. Okay, so connection and service, number 1. I will never go into a conversation, into a networking event, into, hello, this is your name, hello, I am this name. Like, I'm never going to try and do that for any transaction that isn't heart-centered. Like, I want to be with you and connect and end with, I want to see them again, or I want to leave you and your life better than it was before you met me or before we had that interaction. Connection and service is number 1 for me. Boundaries and exclusivity, number 2. And this isn't in any order, it's just a wheel. Yes, connection and service. Number 2, boundaries and exclusivity. When someone comes to you and wants to trauma bond, because that's kind of the world that we live in, it's so important to say, I'm not going to take part in this. This isn't who I am. And you don't have to say it blatantly. You can just say, dude, like, not happening, or change the topic. And if they don't get the clue, you leave, okay? You don't have to share in something that you don't want to share in and that isn't perpetuating abundance and you leading to you having more, okay? So if you want to do less, don't get involved in a trauma bond. It's unnecessary and it's going to take a lot of your energy. So that's boundaries. Exclusivity is also about saying, you know, I am part of certain circles. I also get paid in certain circles. And when friends come to me and want my advice and my coaching, I can't always do it. I'm not always available. I am so willing and so kind, but if it's not reigniting me too, if it's not a two-way street, if you're not giving me the same effort, if it's not being returned, it can't always happen. So know where your effort is being spent / wasted, okay? Then tradition and values. Okay, morals and ethics is at like the foundation of this circle, but genuinely tradition and values is where it's at, because so often we think that we can spend our time just on the next thing that is pleasant or pleasurable or good because it appears to be, but it's not actually furthering our purpose in this world. But if we don't actually stand by tradition, if I'm not feminine, I'm gonna be masculine and some other guy isn't going to be attracted to me and vice versa. So there's all these pillars that lie in tradition, which has lasted over like since humans started, right? So tradition is tradition for a reason. It has power. Values lie in that tradition. I dress in a certain way, I hold myself in a certain way because I'm in a feminine body, in a woman's body, and I go on in that grace. So really having a look at tradition, having a look at how to hold yourself, how to set the pace for things, all of that comes in alignment. Number 4, asking the right questions, okay? You're 50% of the way that you see the world, of your perspective. You are the sum of all of your experiences and the way that you've assigned meaning to those things. You are 50% of your perspective. So the way that I choose to ask questions, the way that I assign meaning to what happens in my life is how I'm going to turn out after that event. If I see an accident happen in the street, I can say, oh my gosh, at least that person was saved. Or I can be the person next to me who's saying, oh my gosh, there's an accident. Of course, it's just my luck to see this, like, worst day of my life. How are those things making you feel? So 4, very, very important to ask the right questions in order to move forward with everything in your life that is summing up to who you're proud to be and to who can keep generating having more by doing less. Remember, we want to do less and have more. So I said there were 6 things, there's 5. 5th one, last one. Taking calculated risks, okay? Do you even have a growth mindset if you aren't constantly challenging your comfort zone? Do you try to expand that comfort zone at all ever? What I do in my coaching containers is I expand what feels familiar to you. We go out into the world together, we say, what do you desire? And we're like, we're going to make this more familiar. Today, I'm going to strive to make more things familiar to me, because I'm going to go and meet the things that I haven't met before, introduce myself, say, hey, like, this is something new and I welcome it. It might be scary, but it is so, so worth it. So if you don't take calculated risks, you're never gonna grow. Okay, those are the 5 things that I spend my focus and energy on. I want to bring it back to we are the universe. So I treat myself as the most important person because I am. Yes, thank you for summing that up. I treat myself as the most important person because I am. I treat you as the most important person because you are. You're the center of your universe. I'm the center of mine. It's so important to recognize that, what was the quote? It's by Theodore Roosevelt. I literally looked it up yesterday. My mom says this all the time. People don't know you care. Oh, what is it? No, let me look this up because it's so good. Okay, here it is. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Okay? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. How are you gonna lead a life of service? I'm on live. How are you gonna live a life of service if you aren't showing that you care? If you aren't asking someone what they're interested in? Yeah, so how it is that I am present with you is also vital. So how to remain present and how to make that person feel that they are the center of the universe, because they are, and how to provide them service is by really checking in with your desires and being able to have assigned a meaning to everything that's happened to you in this world that empowers you. So you want to be moving towards calm and clarity and not chaos constantly as much as possible, right? So I know that the most valuable thing in this world is presence. And I've shared this before. The most valuable thing in this world is presence. You can give me all the money in the world, it's gonna leave me empty. Unless I have someone beside me who's getting when my eyes turn off, when my eyes turn on, when I'm smiling. And when they can receive that and reciprocate it. It's about being a wholehearted human being. That's what we all want. And this is how you get to do it. I'm literally telling you how you get to do it. So when we are present, we can collect more of that calm and clarity. Okay, so this perpetuates our alignment circle, which, as I said, is think, feel, do, result. Think, feel, do, result. So that means that I get to treat others as, yes, thank you so much. That means that I get to treat others as the most important people. So, how to reframe our ups and downs, right? The best question you can ask every single time that you look at something, do something, want something, feel something, meet someone, anything happens, is, how does this serve me? How does this serve me? Because literally everything in our life that we assign meaning to, that we come into contact with, it is all here to serve us. It all happens for us. And if you ask that question and you cannot find how it serves you, then you can make it go away. Like, you have that power. You just say, no, this isn't for me, goodbye. Like, that's a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful, beautiful thing that you get to choose. So how does this serve me? If you can't find how, then it just goes. So you ultimately want to live a life where you have developed habits that serve you. Okay, where you have developed habits that serve you. For me, that means being in my body. For me, that means being physical. For me, that means moving my body, going on walks, doing yoga. Because if I'm not in my body, then I don't actually know what desires I have that connect with the desires that God has for me. Like, I do His will on this planet. But it's so easy to get up in my head about what that will is. And that's when it can be disconnected from heart, source, from soul. So I see every single circumstance in my life as an invitation. When you get to see how something serves you, how something's inviting you to grow, then you can be that bigger person. I stay in my body and I never stop moving. Never stop moving. That's a big part. When you are aligned and when you perpetuate that circle of alignment, it's when you keep taking calculated risks that it can keep spinning. If you stop, then you stay in your comfort zone, and then you're stagnant, and then you're literally wasting another day of this beautiful life, and you don't know when it's going to end. So do yourself a favor, just try something. Here's why. I fall as fast as I can to rise as soon as I possibly can. I would rather fail faster, than not fail at all, obviously, but I would rather fail faster. We've all been in a relationship that we know is going downhill, and we stay. We've all been in a job that is not doing us good anymore, and we stay. We've all done things that we know are not for us, and we stay. It doesn't take too much to recognize that it's not for us. And let me tell you the one thing that will always, 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 always tell you if something is for you or not. It's how you're feeling. Okay, check in with your feelings. If you're having a shit time, it's probably time to go. So I am so open to God telling me if something is or isn't for me, and I will act on that. And that's what I mean by fail faster. If God says, girl, this isn't for you, I'm like, okay, bye. Thanks so much. This is gonna hurt a lot. I know it's gonna hurt a lot to leave right now. But I know it's gonna hurt so much more to leave later, because I'll have wasted a bunch of time, and I'll have hurt my trust with myself, because I'll say, I knew back then. That's crap. To look back and say, that wasn't a real mistake. I knew that was gonna happen. So fail faster. Get on to your next success as soon as you possibly can. That's how the step ladder works. Next thing I do, I seek brutal honesty over gentle lies. I am in relationships with my sister, with my mom, with my therapist for a long time, obviously, with my close friends in my life, with my coach, with my container, etc. Every single relationship in my life. I plead them, not in words, to tell me where I am not doing good, and where I am doing good, sure, but tell me where I'm not doing good. Thank you, Sophia. Yes. Tell me where I'm failing, where I'm just not being wholehearted. Honesty always, right? Brutal honesty over a soft, gentle lie every single time. Because Otherwise, something will be in the way. Like, you feel when there's walls around a heart. You feel when there is distance. And I'd rather be intimate with everything. That is what I mean when I say I'm an intimacy coach. Everyone seems to believe that I'm a relationship coach, like, romantically. And I'm like, yes, and. It's everything in your life you need to be intimate with. So brutal honesty every single time. I get this the most from my sister. I'm very, very lucky to have a twin sister in this world. It is hard sometimes, but it is damn worth it as well. And ultimately, I care more about how I feel inside over how it appears outside, okay? I literally spent, again, most of my life caring about how it appeared. And the worst part is it wasn't even conscious. I was not even aware that I was prioritizing how I was being looked at over how I was feeling. Now that I'm aware of it, it is mighty powerful to say, I get to choose. And when I'm in an interaction where someone like doesn't agree with something that I do, or isn't happy about something, or whatever it might be, just like not an agreeable situation, it's beautiful to feel not attached to that reaction and just be like, well, I'm living my life. This is my vision, this is my desire, and this is why I'm who I am. It's a beautiful feeling. It's a beautiful feeling. Let me know if you felt that feeling. So ultimately, just gonna summarize and say, it's because I expect extraordinary that I receive extraordinary. Okay, you always receive your lowest standard. You always receive your lowest standard. It's not about what you say that you want. That is not your standard. It's what you do. So, I surround myself with those who are overflowing with and are devoted to joy, because then I become more like them. Joy is the greatest rebellion. I have rebelled with Extinction Rebellion on the streets against the climate crisis. I have rebelled in many ways against my parents. I have rebelled in my life so many different ways, and I promise you, the one sole effective way is by being the best that you can be, by feeling the best that you can feel. That it ripples out into your community and into this planet, which needs it so much. So just want to complete that by saying you get to do less and have more. DM me if that is what you want, so you can be in my circles too. Sending so much love on this Sunday.